you asked me beforehand, you're like, when did you become a Mets fan? I don't think anybody becomes a Mets fan. I think you're born into, like, why would you do that to yourself? You just want consistency. Like, that's all you want. Like, you want power. You want
big hits. At the end of the day, when you need a hit, can we get a hit?
Yeah, and by the way, if your pitching staff has an ERA of 3.5, say, baseball players are probably the least athletic players, I would think.
Yeah, but you know what's funny is that the things that they have to do are probably the hardest things to do in all of sports.
Yes, hitting a baseball.
Forget just throwing a baseball at 90 miles an hour plus is crazy to do.
What is wrong with us?
I don't think that there's a Mets fan alive that would, if you had to pick, are the Mets going to win 104 games or 62 games this year? I don't think anybody would say 104 games at this point. I think 62 seems reasonable.
There's another scene where you're actually in the scene.
Yes.
Where the Rangers game, right?
Yes.
Where the puck goes into Ross's face. So whose face?
Yes, it goes into Ross's face. That was one of my incredible acting.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the original Mets Guys podcast for episode 17. This week, we've got a guest, a very big Mets fan, also a writer and producer for Hollywood, worked on a little show called Friends. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. How are we doing today?
You know, amazing is the Mets are still in it. It's it's hope springs eternal in March for Mets fans. Usually by June I stop looking, but we're still ahead of the Braves, so that's what we hold on to.
Here's the question: how many times have each of you received that clip of, I don't know if it's from Family Guy or from South Park, of, and here's the pitch opening day and the Mets season is over?
Yes, that's how we live.
I got that clip sent to me from about 6 different people. I actually watched opening day with the CEO of the company that I work for, and after the game, he sent me that clip.
It's a horror show. It is, and then you get, like, on Instagram, just, it says the Mets opening day record best in baseball, and that coincided with the Mets losing the home opener. Not the home opener, the opening day.
The opening day. Home
opener hopefully will be better, but it's like you hold your breath for as long as possible. It's like going through a tunnel with the Mets, and you're way more optimistic than I am, Pops. I know that you're in it. You're still optimistic sometimes into August.
It's September. When the Mets 50 games out.
And by the way, it was great, but I have learned my lesson too many times. I've been doing this as long as you have, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult on the stomach lining.
So I don't know if you remember this, but it was the last game in Shea Stadium, and we actually watched that game together with the playoff game on the line.
Ugh.
And the last game in Shea Stadium, and the Mets got blown out. Tom Glavine gave up like 9 runs.
I remember that. That was the and then I remember that because the next day, I think Newsday or something had him taking off his Mets jersey, showing that he was still wearing a Braves jersey. Yeah, it's just pain. It's just like I still use the metaphor for everything in my life, like Armando Benitez coming to the hill. It's like,
yeah,
it's like there's no lead is safe, and look. I guess that's the life we've chosen. You asked me beforehand, you're like, when did you become a Mets fan? I don't think anybody becomes a Mets fan. I think you're born into, like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, you're in Chicago, I'm in LA. Like, you had to be born in New York to be a Mets fan, unless you're just like, if it's ironic, but it's not even ironic now to be a Mets fan.
Right.
Like, you live in the middle of the country, you're an A's fan or something, or a Tampa Bay fan. That's ironic. Like, a Mets fan it's a certain amount of, like, just, gut.
It's pain, suffering, and the fun stuff.
In my field, we call it self-harm.
Yeah, it really is. When we had kids, like, my wife would say, and this was like around, we got married in 2000, so of course, big time for the Mets, and she saw me screaming at the TV, and she's like, what is this? Like, what is going on? And, like, she begged me, she's like, please raise the kids to be Yankee fans. I really wanted to. I know that's heretical, And I just can't do it because the only thing usually I have going for me in the second half of the season is rooting against the Yankees. Like that's as a Mets fan, that's because I was trying to think like when did I know I was a Mets fan? And I guess it's when I started rooting against the Yankees. Like that's like the timeline.
It's funny because we don't even say that name in my house.
Right.
So it's like that's like the
I understand. Exactly.
We're on the podcast for that.
Yes. Sorry, you could bleep that out.
yeah we may. Did you? So for my father wasn't a big Met fan. Was your father a Met fan?
My dad was a huge Mets fan. In fact, I'm wearing I'm looking at the jersey I'm wearing now is I got my dad. It must have been now. It must have been for his like 50th or 55th birthday. I got him Mets fantasy camp. And so I'm wearing the jersey. He gave me the jersey afterwards.
Oh,
And
that's so nice.
he grew up in the Bronx. I was born in Brooklyn. He was a big Dodger fan. And everybody in his, he should have been a Yankee fan, but that's not, the growing up poor in the Bronx. I guess in the Jewish neighborhoods, you were a Dodgers fan, and then he was a Mets fan. He was an original Polo Grounds Mets fan, and then we had season tickets as soon as like my dad could afford them. We got tickets to the Mets, and so yeah, we were Mets fans all along. One of my first memories, in fact, was watching the Mets lose to the A's in the '73 World Series.
Oh, no way.
And yeah, and I don't know if it was Vita Blue or someone was in the locker room and they said, I thought they had our ass beat. And it was the first time I heard that word on TV. Like, it was like, and that was my first memory of a Mets fan. It's really fitting that that's your first memory of a Mets fan. I mean, I remember, and then I remember the early '70s. I was born in '66, but even like as a kid, like just wasteland. But most of being a Mets fan is just wasteland, but like really like the Skip Lockwood years and, and stuff
Right.
like that. Just like, you're out of it before it begins. But then there's only 4 teams in the division. So you knew you're gonna be like,
Somewhat competitive.
yeah, somewhat competitive. And then the wild card gave us hope but you have exciting years like last year.
So I remember I actually sent you a text. So for our listeners, so Jeff and I actually go back about 15 years. We've been friends for about 15 years, back in my LA days. And we went to a few Met Dodger games at Dodger Stadium, which, by the way, weirdly reminds me of Shea Stadium. I don't know if I ever told you that.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, because first of all, it probably built. I mean,
Around the
Dodger
same
Stadium
time.
was around the same time. They didn't have Dodger Stadium, even if it's been redone, is remarkable. I mean, the Dodgers that have $1 billion payroll, the stadium is very modern. Modest rather. They just keep like retrofitting. It's not, and I kind of like it, but it has that kind of open old school baseball feel to it. I mean, it's like like Shea did, but Shea just like it doesn't quite have the urine smell that Shea does. I think I have somewhere. I think I have a piece of Shea turf that I got one year from the outfield somewhere in my house. I don't know, but
Okay.
that's what it was. Like it's
Right. So I sent you a text asking if you were going to any of the Dodger Met games in NLCS.
right.
And you said no, I wouldn't do that to myself.
Yeah, I can't do it. It's like it is almost like self-harm. It's like and you're amazing because you go. I remember we would go to the games and you would wear Mets gear, and I'm just very conscious of the Giants fan that's still in a coma, But I remember I went in when it must have been 2000, right when the Yankees, the one of the best baseball days of my life was going to see the Mets and Yankees were both playing up north in Northern California. The Yankees were playing the A's and the Mets were playing the Giants. And my buddy was a Yankee fan. I was a Mets fan, obviously. And we went up there. We just went up there with like a pocket full of cash and went to see the Mets in the morning play the Giants. It was a doubleheader. And then we went over the
Bridge.
Yeah, to see the A's. The Yankees beat the A's, and of course the Mets lost to the Giants. But I was wearing a Mets hat, and I was just every time I turned around, I got beamed with something. And it's just like this is like, come on, man.
Well, you know what's funny? I wore a Mets cap in the bleachers of the old Yankee Stadium
Oof.
when when Doc Gooden threw his no-hitter.
Wow.
And that was like probably the only time I actually thought my life was in danger.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the bleachers are now in the new Yankee Stadium, but the old.
I saw a video of a Mets fan on opening day wearing a Juan Soto Mets
Oh,
jersey in the bleachers, and he got his ass kicked by about 7 different people.
oh, in Yankee Stadium, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember, Jay, I'm sure you remember this too. The dumbest thing, they used to have Bat Day
Yes.
at the Shea Stadium. They give out these little Mets bats, and then obviously, and after there was so many assaults, and they had to give out they had to do helmet day the same day because he was just like it was such a bad. It was just it's like Action Park. It was just like just a bad idea. But
Right.
those were great days. I mean, it's just like it gut wrenching. But I think now it's like, Dodger Stadium doesn't really remind me of that because it's like Dodger Stadium again. People come and it's very people come in the third inning, or even the seventh inning, and
Right.
if you go to a Mets game, you're probably going to see more. Maybe now there's more Dodger fans, but you're probably going to see more Mets fans in Dodger Stadium.
Yeah. I mean, I remember several times where the Met fans took over Dodger Stadium in terms
Yeah.
of the chanting and all that stuff. And I will say though that according to my ballpark app that I have on my phone, the Mets are 0-5 in Dodger Stadium for all the times I went. So I've never saw the Mets win in Dodger
I
Stadium.
never have either, by the way, and that's another reason I don't go because it's like I have never seen I've never seen the Mets win there. I'm probably like 0-7, 0-9. Like I went and every time and it's terrible.
Right. But the Met fans still take over
Yeah.
Dodger Stadium. So but let me ask you this question. So you've been involved with a lot of TV shows, trial and error. We mentioned Friends before. A recent show that you were involved with was a show called Shining Vale,
Yes.
which was like a horror comedy movie.
Yes.
Was that an ode to the Mets?
The horror comedy part of it. I like to keep things light though. That would be too dark. That'd be too very
That was too scary.
But it's very funny though, like if you're a Mets fan, like so I wore this, a couple of weeks ago was no your fan base, but it was a holiday called Purim where you kind of dress up and I just wore that. It was the last second. Thank God I'm working now. So I was kind of busy. So I just threw on my Mets thing and somebody came up to me and it's like, "You're a Mets fan?" I go, "Yeah." He said, "I'm so glad you're not my business manager." He said, "If I ever saw my business manager wearing Mets gear, I would run the other way." And it's just like he's like, "Oh, that explains it. Like you're a Mets fan." It's like there's a certain lack of it. Just you're all heart and very little brain, and it's just like just betting on the wrong team. And he was making fun of me the whole time. He was a Mets fan, like only a Mets fan can be. But it's kind of like you get that nod that like, okay, I understand everything.
How often do you find yourself, or maybe earlier, wanting to throw in little nods to how hard it is to be a Met fan in your work?
Anytime anytime I'm around New Yorkers and they know anytime it comes up often like in my work it's difficult now because the Mets have a different kind of reputation now because of and good it's a reputation we've been
Yeah.
waiting for Steve Cohen to take over this team for every year,
Decades.
I still decades. I still speak to my dad and, about the Wilpons and we've been waiting for somebody like this. So now it's kind of like to be a Mets fan is just, it's even sadder if we have $1 billion payroll. And like I have a good friend of mine, he's a Dodger fan. And I don't know how you're a Dodger fan. He grew up here. So I guess it's okay to be a Dodger fan. But if you're a Dodger fan, just because it's like, they bought up everybody.
Right.
And he's making fun of me for being a Mets fan for my payroll. It's like the only reason our payroll is close is because you're $1 billion player deferred.
Right.
You can have a Bobby Bonilla situation in 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna look like in 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know. But I've been waiting for it. Because look, we grew up with George Steinbrenner, and George Steinbrenner, who now is like would be seen as like Moneyball, compared to what's going on now. But we always had, you always said that about the Yankees, is that like, sure, you could buy anybody who wanted, and the Mets just kind of like, but would homegrown their team and usually lose. But I think that's what the magic was of like the '86 season was like the perfect chemistry of, homegrown and building a team, and then in very typical Mets fashion, exploding it the next season.
Yeah. I mean, they were all hung over in '87.
Yeah, and we didn't know it, but it was like that was it was Morning in America. There was this like nobody knew what was going on there. There was do you remember Action Park? Did you ever live in Jersey?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I've been to Action Park, yeah.
Right, so Action Park, I'm sure you have a scar. Everybody's been to Action Park has a scar. And I saw recently there was a documentary called Class Action Park, and it told the story. I actually met the guy, one of the sons of the guy who owned it, and just like, it's just a guy who just like wanted people to have freedom, and just like he made these rides by drawing them on a napkin, and it was kids ran the place, and it was really dangerous. People died there.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a loop-de-loop slide that had teeth in it from people, and like, and for me, that's the perfect metaphor for being a Mets fan. It's just like, it's just free. You don't know what you're gonna get. It's dangerous, it's bumpy, and it's a thrill. It usually is. But granted now it's a little bit different because we are in the sweepstakes for people, but it's also I don't care. I'll take it. I do think though if we swapped uniforms with the Yankees, we still would lose. I don't know what it is. I don't I don't know what
Right.
it is.
It's almost as if like the chemistry of the blue and the orange, whatever it does, makes us miserable human beings.
Yeah, it really is because it's like, I mean, look, you live in Chicago, and Chicago's won a World Series more recently than the Mets. I mean, how's that? How does that
Right.
jinx break?
Twice.
Yeah, twice. So how
Right,
does
the
that?
white the White Sox and the Cubs.
Yeah. So how does that happen?
I mean, in my office, we always talk baseball, very big baseball office over here. And they were talking about the Cubs. They're like, oh, everybody gets so excited, this and that. And I'm like super excited about my team. You guys are always excited. Like, listen, guys, we always suck. Always.
Yeah.
Like, you guys won a World Series in your lifetime. I have not. I don't want to hear you guys complaining about your team.
And yeah, no, you can't. And it's really it's crazy though that it's been. I mean, it's coming on 40 years.
It's crazy. It's nuts.
It's coming on 40 years since we won a World Series. Like even like 2000, I don't even count that. Like I think it's like, I don't even like I don't know. It doesn't seem like we've been in it. Like even it's like we like last year we were very very scrappy, and that was exciting in the end. And but you're going to go against the Dodgers, and even this year you look there's like it's the buzzsaw, and it still feels like we're missing pieces. Obviously, it feels like we're missing pitching. It's just I would love wouldn't you love like a 4-0 start?
That would be so anti-Met.
It would be so anti-Met. No, but we've had that though. But then after that, then they go like 2-11 for May. So it's not. But there's no.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's what
Yeah,
I
it's
said
like
with the Mets.
our
Say
friend.
this- I'll say this though: the last time the Mets lost back-to-back opening days was 1986.
Really?
No. It was 99, 2000. And in 99 they went to the NLCS. In 2000 they went to the World Series.
86 is it that?
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
All right, so
What do you mean they lost? They lost back-to-back games in the first series. You mean?
No, back-to-back opening days. Like in 99 and
Oh,
in 2000 they lost opening days.
Oh, and then this year. I mean, that was their whole thing. They went on opening day. So who are they opening at home? Who's the home opener against?
Toronto.
Okay. So hopefully,
Future.
We're playing the upcoming series is against Miami. It's against the Marlins.
okay.
If we don't take 2 out of those 3 games,
Yeah, then the season's over. Then
right,
you guys are gonna have to have another podcast. I mean, it's so fun because like we collect now. Like it used to be. It used to be a Mets fan was you were a Mets fan. Usually till June, and then you had to just root against the Yankees. So you had something to root for or against. But now you have like there's every other team you root against. You root against the Phil. Like I try to pick like who can I root for? There's nobody to root for. Like I tried to be a Dodger fan, but that's so lame to be a Dodger fan.
It's so lame right now.
It's just lame. I tried to be a Dodger fan even before, I was at the game where Jake Arrieta threw a no-hitter
Okay.
for the Cubs. And I remember I went with my son, and he was so anxious about it. And he's like, "Can we leave?" I'm like, "It's like the 9th inning." I'm like, "There's no way we're leaving." I said, "There's only 2 people that should be anxious right now. The really 3, the pitcher, the catcher, and the guy at the plate. That's it. Like, don't be anxious. We're not leaving. And I got to see a no hitter, but even like the Dodger fans were rooting for a no hitter against them. Whereas Mets fans would I think a Mets fan would like shoot the pitcher in the leg of the opposing team so he didn't get it.
No, so I'll say I went to a game in Shea Stadium. The Mets lost 2-1. But Bruce Hurst, throwback name here. Bruce Hurst had a no hitter going into like the 7th and 8th inning, and every Met fan there was rooting for a hit. Like, just we can't get no hit. That's not okay. As soon as the Mets got their one hit, they did give him a round of applause.
Right.
But only after they got the hit.
Yes, of course.
They wouldn't. They couldn't tolerate a no hitter against them.
Yeah, no, but that's like the Dodger fan. It's just like it's a fair weather thing. It's nice. It's a comfortable place to see a game. It's mostly in the sun, which I don't like.
Well, Jeff, you're welcome to come to Chicago and watch games here. With barely any games in the sun over here.
I know. I lived in Chicago for a short time, and I went to a game in April, and the people were like, "You got to sit in the bleachers," and you had to wipe the snow off of the bleachers. Like, there was still snow on it.
It's in May.
It was so cold. It was just, I don't know. Is it warm there yet?
I was just saying it's warming up. The last couple of days have been in the 70s, but I believe the rest of the week is going to be in the high 30s, low 40s.
Yeah, it's so terrible.
No, but you know what Chicago is? It's like we had 70 degrees. We had a crazy thunderstorm that came in. It dropped to 40, and now it's back up to like 50. Like, the weather here is just so crazy. And then anytime you go to Wrigley at night, it's gonna be cold.
Yeah, it's freezing. Windy.
You could be in the middle. It could be middle of July. 6 o'clock, it's 104 degrees outside. The second the sun goes down, it's 32.
Right. You get the wind coming off the lake over there, and then
it's Chicago has the worst weather. I remember when I lived there, there was like one day in February, it got up to 60, and I remember that there were people sunbathing on like icebergs on the lake. Get me out of here, man. This is not my town.
So let me ask you. This is amazing. We've gone 23 minutes here, and we haven't asked you yet your top 5 Mets of all time.
Funny, I was thinking about that. Of course, because I'm old school, and that's, I was thinking about like the Met. I mean, I have an old school thing. Like, Darryl Strawberry is still probably my top Met of all time. Like that team, I love it just because I just love his stroke, and his swing was just so smooth.
Beautiful.
Just, I would say, not in order. Same thing with Doc Gooden. I remember going to Doc Gooden's comeback game, and we didn't have tickets. And most of the lessons in life I learned from the Mets. I remember when I was young, we went to park, and the guy's like, "There's no parking here." And my dad's like, "I see a spot." He goes, "That's not a spot." And my dad gave him $20. He goes, "This spot right there." And he like, "Remember that lesson?" I remember that lesson. The same thing. I went to see Doc Gooden, and the guy's like, "You have your ticket," and I get $50. And he just like, we went in to see that. And like, I love the electricity of that. Of course, you have to love Mookie just because Mookie and the hustle. My other two, a little bit, I wouldn't say controversial. Dave Kingman.
Okay.
Going back.
I knew you were gonna say him, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Dave, I don't think he did, because I know Keith Hernandez smoked in the dugout, but Dave Kingman, I just like, you get the impression that guy smoked on the field. Like, he just like, it was also because everything was exciting. It's like, I love, and I still use the reference of Dave Kingman to people. It's very funny in the writer's room. Like, if a guy either hits a home run or strikes out, that's Dave Kingman.
Right.
And I looked, and I guess he had like a 47 or 48 home run season, which is,
now with the Mets.
No, not with the Mets. I think maybe with the Cubs after that, or
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Someone after the Mets.
Someone after the Mets. Probably maybe he hit 38 one year for the Mets.
Yeah.
But I remember it was always exciting when he got up to bat. And the other one, which will be a dark horse, is Rusty Staub,
Okay.
the Grand Orange. I love that guy because he made me feel like I could play professional sports. Like, he got up there, and he was just like, he got up there, and I think he might have been like, wasn't he like had the most pinch hits in like history, maybe at one time.
I think that was Lenny Harris. I think he had.
Lenny Harris did. Okay. So, but at one point, like, or maybe he was the oldest guy, something, but he got up there and he had those black leather gloves, and he would get up there and he was sweating, and just like, he would hit a ball to the base of the wall and just barely make a single. And it would just be, it's electrifying. It really made you feel like, take this. It's just like your dad is out there.
It's
Um,
like him and Bartolo Colon. There's
yes,
hope for
Bartolo Colon.
there's hope for us.
Yes, there is. I remember that. I remember Mo Vaughn hit the ball to the wall, and the right field. I don't know who it was, but the right fielder threw the ball and he just beat it out, and he was so pissed. He was like, "You can't,
You
you
can't
can't
do
do
that.
that. You can't do that. That's like that's almost like hit by pitch. If you hit a ball to the wall and he barely made it, but like that, so I think those are my five favorites. Like the whole '86 team, I just loved. I loved Lenny Dykstra. I loved Sid Fernandez, same thing. Ron Darling. Like I just
Of course.
Keith. Oh, and you know who else was on my list? I'd say like 5A is Gary Carter.
Okay.
Like even though he's not like, he's Gary Carter, I feel like was the juice that brought that team up. He was like the he was also another guy they called Kid, and he always looked like he was like 50. And
Right.
he just had like he just had such a great energy, and just like he was an anchor. Like and that was great. I mean, it's a tradition, I guess, him and Mike Piazza having good catchers, and I remember Mackie Sasser also. Was Mackie Sasser the catcher who had the yips that
Yeah. Couldn't throw back to the pitcher.
throw it back? And I remember there's a pitcher that had the yips also. And there's one they couldn't even start the game. I remember there's one game the pitcher couldn't throw it to the catcher, and the catcher couldn't throw it back. It's like this is like the most Mets thing ever. Like you could walk from if you got a single, it was a triple. And then Matthew Stass, it was just still like what's he doing? What are we doing here, guys?
You used to know that was the first time I actually like felt bad for someone.
Yeah. I mean, just like you're just watching. Well, you're in psychology. You must I mean, I get it. Like there's pressure, but also like you've gotten this far.
Right.
Well, be a first baseman. Like the first baseman, sometimes you have to throw it to trying to double play, but mostly first baseman, you're on the receiving end of it.
Yeah, but you forget like Rick Ankiel was famous,
Right.
with his yips in
Yes.
the NLCS
Right.
against the Mets.
Yeah.
Chuck Knobloch had it from second base. I think Steve Sachs had it from
Yeah,
second
that's
base,
true. That's true.
right? But once you have it, it's just in your head, and it's tough to get it out.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. But like, you just think of all the disappointment in our like the team that I thought the team with like David Wright and Jose Reyes and Piazza was on that team too, I think.
Oh six
Yeah, and that team went
Beltran.
Beltran. Oh God, talk about a guy who like that had to be one of the worst moments in history. Like every single like don't you remember that exact pitch? Don't you remember
Of
exactly?
course,
Don't you remember screaming at the TV?
I
Like
I was catatonic for about 4 hours afterwards.
it was just like I remember that, and I think I might have worked it with our friend Rabbi Wilk. I think I might have watched it, and just like because I remember it's raining, and it's just like every player, as every kid imagines that scenario. Like the game is on the line. I mean, you as the hitter, you have the advantage.
Right,
You don't do under any scenario, leave the bat on your shoulder. There's no scenario where you do that.
right.
I mean, plus it's raining. Like it's like there's every scenario. You're the home field. Like, how do you do that? Like, what do you? I would have just. Did he even go to the locker room after that? Did he just walk off in his cleats and
And go home? I
just
don't
go
know.
home? But that was like the most Mets. That's the most Mets thing you could do. Like
Right,
it's just
right. So you mentioned before Gary Carter, right?
yes,
So right after I'm talking about like right after Juan Soto struck out, right? With the as the with the tying runs on base opening day.
yes,
Right afterwards, I got a text from a video of Gary Carter hitting a walk-off home run right after he signed that his free agent deal in '85,
right,
right from another friend of mine. I said this is what a superstar does.
yeah,
And $800 million. So all the Met fans in the metaverse, in the Get it?
Yes, I love that.
Metaverse? Okay, thank you.
I love that.
Come on, Israel. That was clever.
That was a good one.
I was gonna spell about that pitch. That pitch had 28 inches of horizontal break.
A break.
I don't care who you are, nobody's hitting that pitch.
No, you don't have to hit it though. You have to put a bat on it. You just have to follow it.
That pitch started behind him.
You're talking about Juan Soto now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started behind him and ended in the right-handed batter's box.
At the end of the day, Gary Carter signs a contract, joins the Mets, hits a walk-off home run on opening day.
Right.
Juan Soto signs an $800 million contract with the New York Mets and strikes out.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it's about. But the thing is also like.
Juan Soto, by the way, has been the most productive Met so far with us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like that's the thing. Like you look, the Yankees have 9 home runs in their first 2 games. Like how many does Aaron Judge have already? Like
14.
I think
They hit another like 17 today.
It's just they won 20-9, like 20-3. Just like football scores. Like, could you imagine like a Met? Like you get a Met game like that. Usually when the Mets are out of it, like then they relax and they break out, and then it's like you feel good for a second, and they like. But that's usually on like after an 0-11 streak that the Mets will do that.
So the Mets will do that after they start 0-100, and then they'll win 62 straight games.
Yeah,
and you'll feel good. You'll be like, oh wait,
oh yeah, next year they're gonna be on fire next year.
No, but that's like when I play golf. I'll have like 130 strokes, and then I'll par the last hole, and I'm like, I'm not a bad golfer. Not bad. I could do this game. I'm coming back, guys. I'm coming back. But that's it. Like you just want consistency. Like that's all you want. Like you want. I mean, like you want. I don't know. You want power. You want but
you want big hits. At the end of the day, when you need a hit, can we get a hit?
And by the way, if your pitching staff has an ERA of 3.5, say, like you should be able to with this lineup get 4 runs a game. That's not too much to ask. 1 run a game.
All we're asking for is 4 runs.
We're asking for 4 runs a game. That's all we're asking for. Then you just think of the relief it puts on your pitching staff if they can have an ERA of 3.9.
And you mentioned in the beginning that the concerns coming into the season was the pitching staff,
right?
And the rotation's been great. The
bullpen has been even better. Bullpen's gone 9 2/3 without giving up a single run.
Yeah, but they have to get together. And I get it, like, I don't know, but it's also like the curse, like Alonso. I like Alonso, and just because I guess I like the idea of him more than I like him. I like the idea that he could be like, there's a guy named Polar Bear, and that he could hit a clutch home run. I mean, but like, Lindor is 0-11, right?
Lindor is 0-11, yeah.
Like, I like the idea of that guy too. That guy reminds me of Jose Reyes, like a guy with like a lot of energy who like gets things pumped up and stuff and does fun things. And the 0-11 is like a terrible way to start anything.
Well, last year he started 1 for 32.
Yeah.
And then finished second in MVP voting.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying is
Lindor is a historically slow starter. I don't think.
But here's the thing, though. You say he's a slow starter. It's not like the guy's been like, sitting on the couch for the last 3 months, and it's like, Francisco, wake up! What? It's opening day. What? I've been on my Xbox for 4 months. All right, I guess I'll try. Like these guys have been in spring training. These guys have been like, I imagine there's winter ball. I imagine they're playing.
Francisco's not playing winter ball.
He's not playing winter ball, but there's, I don't know. I know that there's, I wish we had like a Derek Jeter type, like this someone who was like, Jeter apparently was always the first one in the stadium. Like he was there 3 hours before game taking batting practice. Like, and I guess you got to be a Yankee to do that. I don't know.
But one thing is after the Mets have started 1-2, my great pun of the metaverse is like falling apart. Everyone's like panicking.
Yes.
And I just want to remind everybody, there's 159 baseball games still to play.
Right.
Right? Can everyone just calm down? Is it possible?
If you're a Mets fan, you can't calm down. I watched my friend with Aaron Wilk when we watched the game. Like, let me be honest with you. if the Mets have a 1-run lead going into the ninth, do you feel comfortable that they're going to win that game? Zero chance. Zero chance. If the Yankees are down 1 going into the ninth, as a Yankee fan, you're like, oh, this is ours. Like, if they're down 2 going into the ninth, you feel like this is yours. As a Mets fan, like, I still see Armando Benitez grooving a ball and just, like, walking up, not even looking back, and just, like, giving up a 2-run home run to the Braves. Like, I can't not see it. I can't not see the Braves beating the Mets. I can't feel it. Can't feel good.
Have you considered therapy?
It's not. If I consider therapy, the heck goes away is the jersey. But
Yeah.
you're optimistic. Look, that's really good. I'm like, the Mets lose opening game. I'm like, all right, well, there's our season. But yes, they could, but they
I'm in a Mets chat of over 200 and something people. After opening day, I think every single one of them said, "All right, we're going 0-162.
yeah.
That's it. Season's over. We're done."
What is wrong with us? What's
But
wrong
there's
with us?
not one. I don't think that there's a Mets fan alive that would, if you had to pick, are the Mets going to win 104 games or 62 games this year? I don't think anybody would say 104 games at this point. I think 62 seems reasonable. Like, it seems reasonable. Like, we're going to be like, I think we'll beat the Marlins. I feel pretty good that we'll finish above the Marlins.
And the White Sox.
Even, but even the Braves at 0-3,
better record than us right now.
even the Braves at 0-3, like, I feel like the Braves are gonna go have like a 13-1 run. Like,
Right.
the Braves are gonna be there. The Phillies, I can't stand the Phillies. I don't know. I mean, the Phillies. I saw this thing on the Mets blog, the Mets, and they were comparing the Phillies feel confident that they'll beat the Mets this year. I guess they always do, but
Yeah, well, they're low.
They're
life
just
class.
Philadelphia.
yeah. I guess what else do they have?
Right. No, they have nothing. They have nothing. The Sixers are a disaster, right?
A
So,
bunch of greased up holes.
Yeah.
all right, actually,
Sweaty, salty pretzels. Like,
they have Saquon though. I wouldn't mind Saquon right about now.
yeah.
And sorry, I digress. Have you ever had the opportunity to work with any of these Mets players in your?
No, typically athletes are terrible actors. I'll tell you who's not. I'll tell you who is really fun. Charles Barkley, not a Met, not for this. Charles Barkley is like a very talented guy, and he was very, very funny. And he's a guy who, like, I've worked with on TV. You don't want to work TV, like, really, you don't want to work with athletes, children, or pets. Like, they're just, you don't know what you're gonna get. Like, athletes specifically are just like, they're not, they're not trained for that. Although I have to say, I was supposed to write for the TNT, just come up with jokes for those guys and Shaq and Barkley and Kenny Smith, and there was no reason to. Those guys are naturally hilarious, but they're not actors. Like, working with actors, as it's going to be very, very difficult. I remember I met Patrick Ewing once, came to a Friends taping,
Okay.
and I think he stepped over me. I didn't even know what was going on. Like, so it's like, the giant, like, because Friends, you just got, like, people came in. It's just like, I think Patrick Ewing just went and picked like 5 girls out from the audience and just took them and left. It's like, and he was still sweating. I was like, what's how are you sweating? He just walked in here.
I actually have a question because talking about Friends, I'm not a big Friends guy. My girlfriend has a massive Friends friend, loves Friends. In Joey's room, I forgot the other character's name.
Chandler?
Yeah, there's a Mets hat in there. Was that your doing?
I'm sure if I had any say of it, Chandler was a Mets fan, because Chandler was kind of like hapless and neurotic. I'm sure he was. I'm sure they were Mets fans. There's no way they were Yankees fans, because they were, there's something more lovable about being a Mets fan, just because you get right away. If someone's a Mets fan, you kind of get. If you're a Yankees fan, like, it's the evil empire. It's still the evil empire. Like, Mets fan is still, you have sympathy for the person. There's something wrong, and I'm sure of it. I'm sure if it was set back, I don't remember, but I would not be surprised if I made him a Mets fan if I had that opportunity, for 100%.
And then there's another scene where you're actually in the scene.
Yes.
Where the Rangers game, right?
Yes.
Where the puck goes into Ross's face. So whose face did it
Yes,
go
it
into?
does into Ross's face. That was
Was
one of
there?
my incredible acting. I had to act with no I do a whole bit on that because I tell people how difficult that was and like to act without words. Like the puck is coming towards my face and it's not a real puck, but I had to act like it was a puck and I act like I wanted to get it. So I'd reach and then when I missed it, I had to express without words how disappointed I was. So I went, and that's how you show disappointment. That's
So
acting like here, Azrael, if you want it.
here's the question then. Here's the question. Did you try to convince them to do it at a Shea Stadium game?
No, because you can't. We did one thing. We did one thing at I worked on a show called Ground Floor, and we did it where the lead was like a singer, and he got to sing. He sang opening game at the at Giant Stadium, and his girlfriend was an A's fan, and the bit was he was going to sing "Root Root for the A's." And risk his life doing that. But they said like you can't like so he was a real singer, this guy Skylar Aston, he was in Pitch Perfect. But they're like, we just have to put that in post because they'll kill you. Like you can't do a joke. Like you can't even do that as a joke. Or no, maybe he said woo woo for the Dodgers or something like that. Like you couldn't do that. But you can't do it because it's indoors. Like a hockey game is very easy because
Or the
you know
setting you can.
it was on Warner Brothers. It was the audience seats that we blocked off. Like you can say it's Madison Square Garden. You can do that for basketball too. It's very difficult. I've done some shows that take place in baseball games, and it always looks fake because it's indoors. You kind of
Uh,
have to do that. You have to do that.
I've been to a couple of games where like they in between innings they tell you to chair and stuff like that, and they tell you they're recording for a show for a movie or something like that, and
Yeah,
they get a section to like just chair or something.
yeah, like Harry Met Sally at the Giants and stuff like that, and doing when you do the wave and I think you could get away with that, but it's very very expensive. You're not gonna you have to have a promotional deal. Right now, like baseball gets more viewers than any show that you're gonna put it on, so it's not like
Right,
not like the MLB is like dying to get the publicity.
right.
Like they're gonna show that a million people watch. It's very different.
So so I know that you recently got a new show picked up.
So I'm doing a pilot. I'm writing it with my sister. It's about an underdog team it's cheerleaders. It's junior college cheerleaders that are just the worst cheerleading team in America, basically. And so if we want
Basically the Mets.
it's the Mets story. It is just like they're very, very scrappy and they fall a lot and stuff. But it's very fun. Look, the thing about you like an underdog. I mean, that's why the Mets teams are like the miracle Mets. Like no other team is like a miracle. Like they're
Right.
just like a miracle
Right.
that they win.
That was the crazy thing about last year when like even when the couple of games against the Phillies and even the what game 161 against the Braves when Lindor hit that home run in the ninth inning, like
Yeah,
that was so not Met like, to
yeah. It was just like every now and again you feel like, oh, they're giving us a little bit of hope. And just it'll be pulled away. But like that even you felt good though, because it's like they're so out of it. And it's like the Mets are the team that if they're up, you watch it slowly. It's like a slow leak in the bouncy house, and you watch them and they're like at the All-Star break, it's like, wow, they really got a shot here. And then it's like August. It's like they're still in it. And then really come the middle of August, it's like and then they hear from the Braves, and it's just like, you
right.
like you
It's
look
like,
at those.
it's like, oh, we're only 3 games out. Skip a couple weeks forward. Still 3 games out. One more week. We're 15 games out. There's no way.
Yeah, no, it's just like, and you watch it, or like the worst is like you're doing the math. It's like, okay, we can't blow it now. We're 5 games up in the wild card, and it's like with 7 games to go, and then you're playing for the wild card on the last day, and it's like, how does it happen? Like they don't like. I feel like everybody's Mackie Sasser. Everybody's like, they should not let the Mets know where they are in the standings.
Just
They
hide
should
it.
just hide it, and they should just say we're playing for fun. Don't worry about. We'll let you know when it's important to know.
It's
But
like Francisco, we need a hit here. Like Juan, can you do me a favor? Let's try
yeah,
to really hit the ball now.
just one hit, one hit. Like this, it walks as good as a hit. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. So
but
yeah,
but
one of the other things though that we haven't really gotten there. So I'm an Orthodox Jew. You're an Orthodox Jew also. I heard you say that Courtney Cox, who was was the star of Shining Vale.
yes,
She asked you if you ever did Daf Yomi, which is a section of Talmudic learning.
yes.
Did she ever ask you if you watched the Met game yet, or
No,
remind you to watch a Met game?
no, she would not remind me. She would always tell me you have to get home because I start my day every morning at 6 o'clock. So it got late, and she's like, you got to get home and do your learning, and she would never say you got to get back because the Mets are on. She would not. I said that's too embarrassing. I could tell her I'm an Orthodox Jew all day. She can understand that. As a Gentile from Alabama, you can understand, why somebody would learn, 2,000-year-old texts and get up every morning for 7.5 years, 5:30 a.m. But she wouldn't be able to understand why I was a Mets
Right,
fan.
right. Some things are understandable. Some
Some
things
things are, God put some things in uniform that in the universe that we'll never understand. That's when the Messiah comes, we'll understand why
right.
so many people rooted for the Mets.
So here's this other question they have is that in the last couple years we had actually in the same draft two Orthodox players get drafted. One of them I think is one of them is in the Arizona farm system,
Right.
Jacob Steinmetz. And then there's another kid. I don't know what happened. I think he didn't sign the contract, went to college. And I'm not sure what's going on with him right now. Do you think we'll ever see the day where an Orthodox Jewish baseball player is on the field?
I, I think there are other things that would have to happen, like in the universe before. I don't know. I've been learning Daf Yomi now for 5 years. I haven't seen any signs of that as a sign of the Messiah. We're learning that part now. Look, I think that it's funny because I thought about that and I thought like it would have to be a pitcher, obviously, and because you can't play on Friday, Friday games or Saturdays. It'd have to be a
Right.
pitcher. I don't know. I mean, there was some look, YU had that great basketball team, but I don't it's still a different level. I think so. I think it could be. I think you could get a scrappy kid. There's a lot of good Jewish athletes. Maybe they're just, I think if they are, he's playing for the Mets.
I say if there's a sport where an Orthodox Jew can go pro and really make it, it's gonna be baseball.
Yeah, it's gonna be baseball because you don't have to,
Because you could have Chellant and then go pitch.
and also if you're in the Mets, you don't have to worry about the high holidays because you're out of it by September. So I think it's going to be the Mets, definitely,
Right.
for sure. That's I've actually put thought into this, believe it or not. I actually have thought of that, and I thought about like, okay, if I wanted to, I'm very lucky that my kids don't have that kind of athletic ability, my son, but I thought like, okay, what's the furthest you can go? It's like you could probably be a Met, like you don't have to worry about August. You don't have to, you don't have to worry about September, October, certainly October. You'll be fine. But
But
yeah,
okay.
I think it could be. I think, look, I don't think baseball play. I mean, maybe now baseball players are probably now that tennis players in such good shape. Baseball players are probably the least athletic players, I would think.
Yeah, but you know what's funny is that the things that they have to do are probably the hardest things to do in all of sports.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, hitting a baseball.
Hitting a baseball, throwing a pitch and
Forget
gyrating your arm.
forget just throwing a baseball at 90 miles an hour plus is crazy to do.
Well,
Right?
it's
I mean,
it's
my
crazy.
fastball was like 83 and my arm was falling off after every game.
By the way, 83 that's no joke though. That's like I
He
do that like
He was above average.
So now talking about
83 is well above average because I would go and I would throw out my, whenever you go to like, you'll go to like something, or you'll go to like a baseball park or whatever, and you'll have the radar gun. And even if you could hit the mat in the back, like I'll throw my arm out and I'll be like 58. Like, I'm like, what the hell? And it's way high and inside. Like it's just like it's not. It's very difficult. Like it's incredible. That's why you understand people like Dave LaRoche with La Lob or something like that. Like
Right.
the Hill
We
Negro.
went to Seattle for the All-Star game a couple years ago, and I had a very not functioning knee. And there was a place where you could throw, and they'll tell you how hard you'll throw.
Next door to T-Mobile Field, where the Mariners play, was Lumen Field, where the Seahawks play. So the whole field of the Seahawks thing was like different baseball related activities you could do on there. So that's
Right.
what
So there was this one thing where there's like this little mound or whatever. You throw, they give you a couple baseballs. There's a radar gun. My knee was in a brace. I could barely put any like pressure on it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do something stupid, and I'm gonna get up there and throw a ball.
Right.
I forgot how hard I threw it. I don't know, fathers. I don't know if you remember the exact MPHs that got up there, but I remember that the lady told me that I was the hardest or the second hardest one that came, and that was without a functioning knee.
right.
So,
And that was just
just using my arm.
Just
arm and hip. No,
and
no,
how long after that did it take for you to be able to lift the arm?
A long time. I'll go to Dave and Buster's.
Right.
Pretty often. Me and my girlfriend, we love going there. And they have this thing there where you can you can throw, and it'll tell you how hard you throw, this and that. I'll go there and I'll ramp up and I'll get it to like high 80s, low 90s on that.
That's crazy.
And I'm walking around my arms like this. I'm like,
But by the way, how far away are you? You're not 60 feet 6 inches away, are you?
no,
no.
I'm running and gunning. So
Right. Okay.
my hand might hit that like machine and shatter all my fingers, but
Right.
at least it says 91 up there, and I can feel cool.
And you know that's accurate because they don't want to make you feel good.
Right.
Yeah, yes. No, but that's really incredible. I remember with Caleb, my son, I was trying to get him to, he wasn't, for some reason, he wasn't a bad pitcher. And I also know that you can be a finesse. You can pitch with finesse, and you just have to be able to, there's a science to it. And it's not just, just throwing speed, but like, so there was the pitching coach was just a guy in the Cherry Hills Park there. And he was played like AAA ball somewhere, and he was probably looked like Randy Johnson. Maybe it was Randy Johnson, but he was like 6'7". And this guy, he would just air it out, and just like when he was warming up, and it was just like because he had these long legs, long arms, and he must have been throwing, in the 90s. And I was just like, "Did you ever play pro ball?" He's like, "I made it, AAA. That was as much." And like, so this guy, I'm like, my 5'7" Jewish son is not. You know what? Study accounting, marketing might be better.
So
But
when
go ahead, sir.
when I was playing, my pitching coach, I would throw bullpens with him. Right when I had a bullpen there, I would throw bullpens with him. And he never played pro baseball. He played semi-pro in like the Atlantic League or something like that. His first pitch on the mound would always be 88. First pitch, no warm up, no stretch. He would just get
Wow.
onto the mound and throw 88. I'd be like, dude, you're making me feel bad. Get off the mound.
Yeah.
And he would end up at, at the end of the day, he'd be throwing 95 to 96.
That's crazy.
And just without warming up too. So yeah, the pitching.
But obviously live, I just remember watching this guy and his, I can't even do it. I can't even do it if someone moved my knee up while I was sitting. Like, his knee, like he's like, so you have your knee, your left knee goes up to your ear. Like what? Like his left knee, he's like, you make sure you don't want your knee to block your vision, but like, what? And I'm spinning and like, I can't do it. Like,
Yeah.
but it was just, it's all about, because people who just like us, like you want to throw it. I think I just hurt my elbow, by the way, doing that. But like, like you want to just like use all arm or all upper body like you did. But like this guy has long legs and his knee comes right up here, and it's just a whip. And that's the only way that I think you could do it without blowing out your elbow and blowing out your,
Yeah, we were watching my other son. We were watching him his game the other day, and they had one of their pitchers going up there, and he was throwing. He had some nice zip to him, but he was all arm, and we were just like cringing with like, oh god, his arm is gonna fall off because like
Yeah.
arm's literally gonna fall off.
And then there's that
Well-
one guy in the crowd who says, "It's okay, he's not going pro."
It's okay. He's not going to need that where he's going. It's very funny. I was just thinking that because I grew up and in this mid 70s, once again the Mets, in 73 they peaked until 86, I guess, and 85, and so I had to become a Dodger fan because I hated the Yankees so much. So, and those were fun teams to root for, the Dodgers in 77 through 81
Sure.
against the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees were just unstoppable, but those were fun. But I remember Tommy John, and I guess what did they call the surgery before he had it? Like, I guess like what,
No, there was no surgery before he had it.
yeah. So it's like there's that there's a joke where a guy goes to the doctor, and the doctor goes, "I have good news and bad news. What do you want to hear? The good news is first, or the bad news?" He goes, "The good news." And he says, "Okay, the good news is they're going to name a disease after you." Like, so that's like Tommy John's. Like, I have great news. They're going to name a surgery after you.
And
But-
and what's crazy is that is like, it's like you're not a major league pitcher if you don't have that surgery.
I mean,
and it's
there are high schoolers. There are high schoolers that will purposefully get the surgery. So there's a surgery now where they tear your UCL for you, and then repair it. Right?
It's just
That way-
crazy.
That way, that way for they try to do it now so you don't have to do it later, but
right.
shows that logic is wrong because people will get Tommy John 3-4 times.
Well, think about this. Think about all the prospects that we've had that we've got so excited for, and then boom, they get Tommy John.
Well, that's the thing also. That's why, like, putting all your money in a pitcher is just like the pitcher can, I don't think there's no Mets fan alive that does not anticipate 60-day DL for Juan Soto. I think that's written into his contract that you're going to
Don't say that, Jeff. Don't say that.
see it in the injury.
the game last night, and there was a pitch that got really close to his hands, and it kind of went like this, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Right.
Terrified.
Yeah. I mean, I just, I just think, but like, again, for pitchers, like, that could be it. That's your whole,
Noah Syndergaard hasn't resurfaced since he got hurt.
Relevance, yeah.
yeah.
Right.
What about DeGrom? Where's DeGrom? What's he?
Oh, so he actually.
DeGrom pitched 5 innings of shutout baseball, striking out 6, and only giving up 2 hits today.
Listen, if he stays healthy, he's a dominant pitcher, but he just can't stay healthy.
If he
Yeah.
stays healthy, he'll win Cy Young. And when he's healthy, he's the best pitcher in baseball, and maybe the best pitcher of all time.
No, really?
He's
I mean,
that good.
if he's healthy.
Right.
All right, yeah. Where is Syndergaard now?
He is eating donuts with Terry Collins at the Mets house in Manhattan.
Yeah.
So talking about DeGrom. So here's a little game I want to play with you, Jeff. Okay, it's start, bench, cut. I'm gonna give you 3 players. You gotta say which one you're gonna start, which one you're gonna bench, and which one you're cutting.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll start with we mentioned DeGrom. So we got DeGrom, Doc Gooden, and Tom Seaver.
Oh man, that is really great. I got to start. Like, you're talking about heyday or
You
Prime
prime.
for all of them.
prime. I think you got to go. I'm going to go against Osweiler. I got to cut DeGrom, and I got to start Doc, and then take Tom Seaver. I mean,
And put him on the bench.
yeah, put him on the bench.
Okay.
Where would you
Wow.
go?
I mean, I would start Seaver, bench Doc, and cut
Wow.
DeGrom.
Yeah.
But
All right. So flip. I mean, look, Tom Seaver is, he's one of the best of all time, and like Nolan Ryan, like once he left the Mets, he saw what he could do.
right.
So I'll tell you. You know what? This is gonna be crazy here. I'm gonna start. This is prime, healthy. I'm starting DeGrom.
Wow.
I'm benching Seaver, and I'm cutting Doc.
See,
Really?
listen, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you when I'm thinking about it, Seaver played for so long and so did Doc, right? Now, if you're taking them and saying, I have a healthy DeGrom that he's never going to get hurt and he's going to play 15, 20 years, fine. I'll start DeGrom all day, every day. Right. But knowing that DeGrom gets hurt a lot, granted, you can give him to me now perfectly healthy, but 3 starts when he tears his UCL again.
Now become one game. What was Doc his first year? Like 26-4, 26-3. What was Doc?
He was untouchable.
He was untouchable. I'm talking about Doc Gooden, prime cocaine, no drug testing. 19 years old. He was unhittable. He was unhittable.
But you know who was more unhittable? Jacob deGrom.
Jacob deGrom had, I might get the numbers wrong, but
minus the coke, by the way.
Yeah. So deGrom in like 2019 had like a 21K per night, which is ridiculous.
Wow, crazy. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on here. I want to get to another thing. First base. Keith, John Olerud, Pete Alonso. Start, bench, cut.
I would go Keith, Olerud, then cut Alonso.
So we talked about this before. I would go Keith, Pete, Olerud.
And I said I don't know what I would do in this situation because Olerud I think is probably the best hitter of all of them.
Yeah.
The best pure hitter of all of them was John Olerud. But I'd probably go Keith, Pete, and cut John.
The thing about, I mean, Keith is just like he was such a team leader also. And he was just like, he had such grit. Like he would just grit it out. And, anybody who smokes in the dugout is just like, you want that guy on your team, and he's just like a team leader. And he was, I don't know, you always felt confident. Like when Keith came up like that, you just felt good, and the same thing, Olerud is great, pure hitter. Alonso though is just like literally hit and miss. I mean, he's
your Dave Kingman.
Yeah, he's a Dave Kingman.
Right.
I mean, would you have re-signed Alonso?
Yes.
For this deal.
For this deal, yes.
Yeah.
But not to go. I guess if money is free, but
my money, Steve Cohn's money to me is free.
Yeah. But has he gotten a hit yet this season, Alonso?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he has too. I know he hit a double on opening day.
Nah, he has one hit.
One hit, so probably just a double on opening day.
And he walked 3 times though.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what? His plate discipline is making me happy.
Yeah, if you walk 3 times, that's.
Let's move to the outfield.
Okay.
Mookie, Bernard Gilkey, Brandon Nimmo.
I would cut Gilkey. I would probably start Nimmo, then Mookie.
So I have no idea who Gilkey is. So he gets stuck by default.
I'll tell you who Bernard Gilkey was in the depths of the 90s hell of a Met fan. Bernard Gilkey and Lance Johnson also.
Yep.
Right? Where like there was this like sliver of like, oh wow, there's a guy to root for. Right? But I think he had like 1 or 2 good years. I'm not even sure.
I know maybe it's hard to keep Mookie on the bench though, because Mookie was so like, the thing is, like, I'm picturing Mookie when he's old because he played a little bit past his prime. But in his prime though, he was just so he was just so good. But
he made things happen.
Yeah, but Nimmo's exciting, and Nimmo has a lot of potential.
Well, Nimmo's Azriel's favorite player of all time.
Oh, yeah, you give me
serious man crush.
Serious man, and now that he's got a beard,
yeah, forget about it. Yeah, no, I see that. Was one of my favorite Mets is Kevin Mitchell also, and I know that I just remember him catching the ball with his bare hand.
Yes.
And like in the outfield, catching his ball with his bare hand, throwing it, like it wasn't even a thought. It wasn't like, I watch these things on Instagram somehow. You ever see like Banana Ball or whatever, like those players?
Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, whatever, the Savannah Bananas. Like it's just so. I mean, I feel like it's just like a West Hollywood team. Like I feel like it's like, but that's what, like, Kevin Mitchell just like reached back, grabs the ball and throws it in, and like, but I guess he was getting. Apparently they thought he was getting coke for Doc. That's why they got rid of him. But like, I don't know. Maybe that was a bad idea.
And Doc went downhill after that.
Yeah. So I think that was a bad idea. I think you don't mess with what works.
Right. So let's talk Kevin Mitchell. Here we go. Kevin Mitchell. These are utility role player guys, right?
Mhm.
Kevin Mitchell, Kevin Elster, and
Right.
Lee Mazzilli.
I love Maz. Maz,
I have no idea who any of those guys are.
well, Maz was going to be on my team, but Maz has also got like it's funny. Maz was like in my top 10 Mets of all time.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Maz. But again, like I thought you were gonna say like Kevin McReynolds. Like that was such a bummer. That was
Oh,
such a bummer.
he was one of my all-time favorite Mets.
Kevin McReynolds.
Yes.
He's just slow. He had such a slow energy. I mean, just like this, like he just like I know coming off the excitement of like the '86 Mets, it just seemed like they wanted somebody just like who was not going to buy cocaine for Doc. Like that was the sole criteria, and he but where do you come from? The Padres?
Some of that I don't remember even.
But I love Maz, man. I love Maz. But Maz was also like, I guess he spanned a long time though with
Wasn't he was a Brooklyn guy, right?
yeah, he was born and raised. He was born and bred, but he went to the Yankees also, right?
Well, so many other Met players also. Darryl, Doc,
Yeah,
right?
that's so disappointing.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Well, this will be the last one, and this is I'm gonna leave Armando Benitez off of this because I'm sensitive to your trauma.
It's so I like honestly, my stomach just dropped when you said the answer. John Franco.
Okay, Je- Jesse Orosco,
Yes,
John Franco, or Edwin Diaz.
I got to go with John Franco, and then I know people. Edwin Diaz still scares me a little bit just because I have Armando Benitez kind of anxiety, and I love Jesse Orosco because he just had such grit, and I'm sure Osriel has not heard of either John Franco or Jesse Orosco. He'd be Edwin
I
Diaz.
know John Franco.
Just like again, it was just like such a.
I got a Jesse Orosco signed ball right here.
Yeah, I just it's so funny. I that would be my how would you go with that? I mean, how do you not have John Franco? He's Mr. Matt. He's just
So
you
I'll tell you how you feel. I love John Franco. I think he's the whole green sanitation shirt underneath his jersey, and he's the guy. He's to me what Armando Benitez is to you.
okay.
So
Giving up too much. Just
so I'm gonna start Edwin Diaz.
yeah.
I'm gonna bench John Franco, and unfortunately I have to cut Jesse Orosco.
So I bet if we asked Tyler Zuber this question, he would put John Franco. You start John Franco. Now, if we're talking the 2022 Edwin Diaz, I think it's a no-brainer that you start him.
Right.
If you're talking about last year's Edwin Diaz, then you start John Franco. So it depends on which one you're talking about.
But how do you just that iconic image of John Franco throwing up his glove like
Orosco?
Orosco? It was just Orosco throwing. Yeah, like that's just like I know John Franco was like a guy who like took the 7 train into the into Shea Stadium, risked his life like
with a roast beef sandwich.
Yeah, like is like I guess I have a if you have a great team, but that's also part of like you need a great setup man. You need a great like everything to get you there. Like it's just like so much of the Mets is just barely holding on. I think I have hopes for Diaz. But Diaz also was a heartbreaker last year.
Last year he reminded me a lot of
Benitez.
He had a really good outing on Friday night. He looked really nice. Listen, I said this. I said this all last year. He just came back from a MCL surgery.
Right.
It's hard to come back from that, especially as a pitcher, right? When you have to generate so much of your pitching and of your velocity from your legs. It's very hard to come back for that. And what people don't talk about also is that a lot of your control comes from your legs. If you're not using the legs properly, not going to be able to control the ball properly.
Right.
I think this year's Edwin Diaz is going to look similar to 2022. Again, he's not going to be able to repeat that 2022 season, but it's going to look a lot like it rather than last year's Edwin Diaz.
Amen.
Yes. I hope so. But look at someone like Mariano Rivera. Like we've never had like
we've never had that.
Like the guy, also good guy, and just like he was hard to someone like I hated the Yankees. I didn't. You don't hate that guy. I didn't hate that guy as much as I hated all the like. It's like hating Derek Jeter. It's very difficult to hate. Like he just seemed like a good guy who was great at his job, and he although I loved when he gave up that hit in Arizona. I
That's exactly what I was gonna say. That was the best one of my best baseball moments.
One of my best. I screamed like you could still hear the screaming. Like that was like almost like the Mets won. That was just as high as you can get without the Mets winning. Was that like bloop single that like
Oh my god, that was great.
was just it was. I still remember like it was. I was just off the couch. I just was. It was so great, and to beat him too was just so. That was heaven. That was
That
heaven.
was great.
And I didn't care that was a bought team. That was what Schilling and Randy Johnson and just
Dude, listen, you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
you
Right?
gotta do what you gotta do. Look, we keep trying it. I don't know. I'll go with you that the Mets have a decent shot of maybe being 103-59 this year, coming in third in the division. Wow, Cubs.
Listen,
But wait, how Met would that be? Winning 103 games
It's-
and coming third in division.
the MLB,
And then losing in the play-in game.
look, see, the
Right.
MLB put out a top 10 like power rankings.
Yeah.
The top 6 were all National League teams.
Right.
From the top 4, 3 of those teams were in the NL East. Right? It was
Wow.
the Braves, Phillies, and Mets, and the Dodgers, of course, are number 1. But
Yeah, Dodgers no one.
I mean, the Mets could go 103-59 and still finish third. That's how good the NL East is.
Yeah, that's why I want the Braves to be pounded and just like get it because the Braves they just always like they float there and it's just like they naturally it's like looking at these population charts of like China starting off with like there's only 1 million people there and then it keeps moving up the list. That's like the Braves going up the ladder and
The Braves are losing 3-0 right now.
that's good. 0-4 start.
Padres have a runner on second on the 8th inning. They only have 1 hit. That makes me. I'm more happy about that than the Mets 1 win this season.
Yeah, 0-4 start would be brilliant. What about the Phillies? They play today?
The Phillies,
I don't think they played today, did
I
they?
don't think they played today. No.
That's weird that the Mets don't have a Sunday game.
Actually, I lied. The Phillies did play today and they lost 5-1.
Oh, that's nice.
That is nice.
Okay. Listen, I want to remind
The Phillies 2-2 now?
2-1.
2-1. Okay. All right.
I want to remind everyone, and maybe this is me being an overly optimistic,
You are.
going back for some more pain. There's 159 more baseball games for the Mets to play. Juan Soto struck out 1 time in a big
Right.
spot. Oh, he struck out a 2nd time, which was a bad call, but whatever. It's going to be a good year for the Mets.
Okay.
It's going to be a good year. Now, we may end up, pulling our hair out, whatever hair
Yeah.
we have left. Azriel's also starting to line up a little bit over there, receding.
It's a Mets fan.
Oh, dude, my hair is going back further and further.
Yeah, it's a Mets fan.
Every pitch I watch, hair starts falling out.
Yeah, you can't. That's you.
Right.
You know what? You be a Braves fan, it'll start coming in full. Thank you.
No, but I'll tell you,
Yankee fan, you'll have a giant afro by the end of the season.
but the sick part about Azriel is that he'll watch the minor league Mets.
Really?
He watched Brandon Sproat get
That's-
blown up today.
There's nothing I love more than baseball.
That's amazing.
This
And you really grew up. You didn't grow up in New York at all, right?
I did not grow up there. I lived there for what, a year?
Something like that.
Yeah,
It's in your blood, man. Your dad gave you that terrible gene. They should test that in genetic testing, like Tay-Sachs and Mets fan. But you don't want 2 Mets fans.
I go to almost every single Cubs game on Sundays. If they play at home, I'm gonna be there if I can. And I go there wearing my Mets hat,
That's great.
Mets
But
jersey.
the Cubs are. It's like that's a neutral place to go, just because it's like I don't know. You get heat for wearing Cubs. The Cubs are the Cubs rabid fans. I mean,
No, you can go there.
The Mets last year when we went to like 3 straight Mets games. We went to like that whole series.
Yeah.
Right.
And one of those games I went with my friend who was a Cubs fan. He's like, "Oh, we have to sit in the bleachers." And then after Mark Vientos hit a home run, I was like super pumped up about it. I was yelling, and there was like a lady sitting next to me. She's like, "It's the friendly confines. Please don't yell." I was like,
Wow.
what are we doing here?
Friendly
It's like,
compounds.
what's going on? Yell at me back or something.
I know that's friendly confines. No, thank
No,
you.
but I'll tell you, anytime you can go to a Cubs game against anyone, and you will see multiple Mets caps, Met fans walking around and stuff like that. There's a lot of Met fans
It's transplant. Yeah.
in Wrigley, and not only that is that when the Mets play the Cubs, as soon as the Mets take the lead,
It's City Field
it's
2.0.
City Field.
Really?
Yeah.
And even if the Mets don't take the lead, it's still City Field. I mean,
Yeah. The Dodgers like that too. I mean, but the Dodgers also have. I think now the Dodgers. It's also like very corporate. Like you can't afford to go to a Dodger game. Like going to a Dodger game, like you're gonna pay to get. You pay $500 a seat to get up in the.
Right, to get good seats.
Yeah.
I just for the fun of it, I wanted to see what opening day prices were for Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
Cheapest ticket I found was $125.
And that's way. And by the way, those are bad seats.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was like in a corner with a pole blocking your vision.
Yeah, that's not great. I don't know what are field level seats for Dodger Stadium.
Except,
$750. Yeah.
I mean, that first of all the way down in the field box thing, that you're having all the celebrities and all everyone in Hollywood that show up for the
Right.
3 innings that for the cameras to start like scanning the
Yes.
crowd, and then they leave.
Right.
Right. No, they go for the 3 innings that the Dodgers pay them to be there for.
And then no, it's a scene, but it's like yeah. I mean, but the LA also has the Lakers, which is more of a it's more of
It's
a
more of a Laker town.
yeah, it's more of a Laker town. I mean, Dodgers especially like Dodgers now are catering to the Japanese audience, which I get. Like that's also an advantage that the Dodgers have is that like the Mets are not going to get a lot of great Japanese players because it's another we'll get the Eastern European players that's closer to the Israeli players.
Kodai Senga has the option to opt out of his contract this year.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if he opts out.
It goes to LA.
Yeah, don't be surprised. Especially if he has a really good year.
Why wouldn't you? Like you get like the Dodgers have that. The Dodgers have the money and they have a Japanese fan base. And it's really smart though, because they sell the rights to Japanese teams and Japanese TV and
It's a whole country of revenue.
baseball fan. And Otani is just like, I mean, he's the real. Is he pitching this year?
He's supposed to. They're saying he's probably going to start pitching like
In May.
mid May, beginning of June, something like that.
How crazy is that? I mean, how crazy is that? Like that seems like an unnecessary risk.
Yeah, but
Honestly,
that makes him so unique.
If I'm the Dodgers and telling him no, you can't pitch, like you can't start, because I don't want to risk him, getting hurt and this time, tearing his UCL again, and then
You're paying him $70 million a year. They're gonna have him pitch.
he's getting paid like $1.2 million a year because of all.
No. I'm talking like, yeah. Anyway, listen, we're at the hour 20 mark. We gotta.
Oh wow, I can't believe it. You said it's 45 minutes to an hour, so this is great. I could talk all day. This is really fun. It's very nice. So it's a warm bath. I'm actually glad the Mets didn't play today because a 1-3 start would be too depressing. So this is nice. I look forward to. Let's get back when the Mets are in first.
Okay, we'll do that. So, Jeff, when can we expect your new show out?
So I don't know. God willing, we're gonna film it in May, and then if we get picked up to season in November, it would be on November. I'll let you know. God willing. It's all there's so many. My business is like the the 90s Mets right now. It's like going to late 70s Mets. So it's a
All right.
contraction. But God willing, it's
We have one request for your cheerleaders:
yes.
orange and blue uniforms.
Uniform. Yeah, I want to curse that. You think I want to curse them like that? I don't think so.
Listen,
Well-
just at some point, if they're in competition or whatever, at some point, have a small little Dominican come in there who has a really nice pop song, brings it to the end.
There we go. That's all we need. Maybe, yeah, or maybe Grimace.
Yeah.
Whatever will work.
Whatever happens.
One scene at McDonald's having them, with the Grimace shake in their hands.
There we go. That whatever it takes, I'll do it. I'd love it.
All right. Well, best of luck to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been super fun. I appreciate it. Let's go, Mets.
Let's go, Mets.
And as always,
Let's go, Mets.
Let's go, Mets.